You tried to vote to win?
I tried.
And you won.
I was very, very fortunate because I won. And now I get to represent you and your dad in this great government of ours.
And how's it going so far?
It's going.
How do you feel about the job?
It's an amazing job. I mean, to represent the people of this district, I say it over and over again, this is the best state Senate district in the United States of America. If you look at the natural beauty, if you look at the diversity of the people, if you look at all of the incredible assets and resources we have, both human and natural. I'm blessed and privileged. We even have a town crier here. Who could want more than that?
I know. Well, look, I want to talk to you about jobs and what are we doing for folks that are out there that don't have work, that where we're headed.
Well, of course, you know, on a federal level, you do hear, and I believe very much in this, that this is a time when labor is available, resources are relatively cheap. And the need is there, that we should be looking for projects to invest, as we're hearing on a national level now, in building infrastructure, in reaffirming our commitment to education, looking for opportunities relative to a forward-looking energy policy. That has to do with retrofits, efficiency, conservation, small-scale renewable projects. All of that stuff is available. It will create jobs. Looking for local sectors of the economy here on Nantucket and in this region that involve the fishing industry, obviously tourism, which is the backbone of our economy on an annual basis. Looking for ways to shore that up and make that a stronger part of our economy as well. So it's going to take time for this economy to recover. A lot of damage was done, you know, in and during the 2000s. We're still digging our way out, and it's going to take time. But I believe very much that small business especially is going to be a vibrant part of the recovery, and I also think the public sector needs to be investing.
Have you heard anything from folks about this jobs bill? Is that gaining any momentum at all?
Well, again, I mean, it's,
about
we don't have one on a state level. So on a federal level, it is important because so much of that federal bill is going to then be parsed out to the states, and that will then create jobs locally. So I think we need to make sure that our voices are heard in Washington, that we do need to be seeing that money
Do we have any infrastructure issues in our district right
Huge.
now?
I mean, you know,
what do we need?
The three biggest ones that I think we should be focused on are transportation, energy, which obviously there's a huge opportunity for, and wastewater, which again, not necessarily as much here on Nantucket, but on the Cape, there's a huge need and opportunity to create a regional wastewater plan that will create a lot of jobs, that will clean up some of the water damage that's been done. Right. So, you know, I would say again, those three: transportation, energy, wastewater, huge. And then we've got environmental protection, which also is not only something that's important, but also will create jobs.
And for those folks out there that are concerned about spending and trying to find common ground, you know, I'm just a guy listening to this, just like everybody else.
Yep.
You got your Tea Partiers, and now you got these people in New York City and all over the world now against Wall Street, you know, and corporate greed. How do we find common ground? You know, the Tea Partiers seem to be all about spending. You know, stop the spending. And the Wall Street guys are all about the rich getting richer and the disparity between the two. How do you make people
see them? 30 years ago, 1% of the population earned 9% of the income in this country, and now that top 1% earns 25%. And 30 years ago, the top 1% owned about 30% of the assets in this country, and now that top 1% owns 60%. And if it was a status quo that, you know, wasn't impacting everybody, you could say, well, that's fine. But the problem is, what that means is it's come at the expense of a strong middle class. And the reason that's important relative to the jobs issue that you brought up is that without a middle class that actually has discretionary purchasing power, our economy is going to be struggling. So we do need to figure out how to create jobs that will give people the income they need to really be players in our economy. As we see that starting to happen, then we'll see the economy.
So you're all in favor of the jobs bill, the president's bill?
Totally. It's a necessity for two reasons. One, it creates jobs, but the other is we are falling behind. The United States is falling behind in infrastructure and in a public commitment to education, And we need to be focused on education and infrastructure, and as Governor Patrick, I think, says so well, innovation as well. So,
Ken, for those folks out there that are really concerned about the spending, the overspending of the government, how do you address that?
well, I mean, in the state, we've cut $2 billion in the last 2 years.
Okay.
Our problem is not that we are not able to have fiscal discipline. Our problem is that our revenues continue to go down faster than our ability to cut. We're not going to cut our way out of this recession. If people think that we can just continue to cut services and cut infrastructure and make cuts in education, where that lands us in the future, if we're not careful, is as a second or third world country. So now is the time, as difficult as it is, to not look for more cutting, but to look for investing. And investing in the future, not borrowing from the future to do these projects, but actually investing in the future is the only way that I think we can see our way out of the challenges that we have today.
Okay, Dan, thank you so much.